I've been the best, been the worst, been a ghost in a crowded room. That's a lyric from a song by One Republic called Someday from the 2021 album Human. That song is amazing. I love that song. I think it's my most played song on Spotify this year, 2022. But that lyric really resonates with me. The idea of having been the best, been the worst, and been a ghost in a crowded room. It really is something that really hits close to me, because sometimes you walk into a room, people think you're the best. Sometimes you walk into the room, people think you're the worst, and they might not think you're the worst, but in your mind, you're thinking all these things. And sometimes you walk into a room and you're a ghost and nobody even notices you. It really is just a really deep lyric. What do you think about that, Joe?
I think in life, we wear certain hats at different times. I've been in situations where I've been in places where people think that, oh, Joe's here, Joe, look, hey, Joe's here, this kind of thing, where it was almost silly that and then I've been in places where people, for whatever reason, just had some disdain and to the point where you wondered, what did I ever do to you? Why do you? And when it's more than one at a time, it's like, it's really puzzling, and you don't really worry about it, but it does stay with you. So I've worn those two hats, and there's nothing like that third one, because it's eerie, and it's a bummer, and it's eerie at the same time. And and I know, this is a different artist, and I think different artists have touched on that emotion. The Doors did a song, when you're a stranger, people are strange.
Yep,
People are
that's a great
strange.
song.
And it mirrors this in so many ways. Faces look ugly when you're alone, that kind of a thing. That when you were in that situation and everyone's laughing and having a good time, and there's no one for you to talk to. And that's tough. And I've worn that hat too. And my thing is that some people feel that way all the time. And that's what bugs me. But go ahead.
Yeah, it really is like that lyric. When I first heard the song, I was like, this is an awesome song. But then that lyric, every time I'm just waiting for that lyric, I'm just like, this is and then the next lyric, some of the next lyrics after that is like, took a dive, took a turn, took this, and it led to you. It's one of those things where you're going through some things, and then you take a dive, you take a risk, you do something like that, and then it leads to someone in your life that you're very happy that's in your life. It could be anyone. It could be a friend. It could be a significant other.
Right.
So there's all these emotions in the song, and the whole premise. The lyric's not really, to me, it's not really about the premise of the song, because the premise of the song is someday when we're older, we're like, we'll be together, life will be great, that type of thing, which is awesome. It's a good message, because One Republic has awesome lyrics and messages like that. But this lyric really, the idea, because you think about it, brings up so many memories in your mind. It's like the idea of being the best, being the worst, and being a ghost in a crowded room. It's like, whoa, that's like, it really hits you. So
Yeah, everyone, and I think everyone's been there.
Yep. So how was your weekend, Joe?
Weekend was, try to remember. The Birds won, so that was pretty good.
We'll talk football a little
Yeah,
bit
we'll
later.
talk football. But yeah, it was other than that, it was just a regular weekend. There's never a weekend that's bad. So how
Yeah.
about you?
Weekend was pretty good. I work Saturday, but then I'm off Sunday. The thing about yesterday, and we'll talk about this. Yesterday was Sunday, 2 days ago. The Cowboys played the Texans, and I couldn't watch it because it was just on the Red Zone channel. It wasn't on my YouTube TV or anything.
We're going to talk football a little later, but go ahead.
Giants Eagles. You want to talk football later, but Giants Eagles. So, but I'm happy the Cowboys won. Yes, we'll talk about that later. But I went to the movies too on Sunday. I saw a new movie called Spoiler Alert. It's one of those things. It has an LGBTQ theme. I don't have any prejudice towards any of those groups. I went to see it. I thought it was a good movie. It was very sad and depressing kind of, but it was, heartwarming at certain moments, and it's a love story, right? But it was the thing. I know it's Sunday, and it's like Sunday around 6:00, but there was really not a lot of people in the theater. It's just kind of sad that, if a movie has a label of LGBTQ, they're going to lose like a lot of their audience automatically, because people are not going to want to see that movie. Yeah, I don't know what the box office was. I'll check the box office, but um
Well, Sean,
it,
let me just tell you something. I'm honest to God. You know, you can attest to this. You know, I love everybody. I do not care what people do. I do not. That's the least interesting thing to me is what some other guy does, in the privacy of a bedroom with another consenting adult. I don't care. It's not my deal. Women, I mean, I'm hetero, and that's the way God made me, but I don't condemn anybody. I don't think anybody should be made to feel bad or picked on or anything, or you know but and I give everybody the green light. Do what you got to do. Be happy, be you. That being said, I have no interest in and I'd say this in all sincerity, and like I said, I've just prefaced it by telling you who I am, and I don't really. I've seen a couple of movies like that advertised, and I have zero, absolutely zero interest in watching them. I mean, I don't care what anyone else does, but I don't need it.
yeah, that's fine.
I don't need it in my face every
Yeah,
five minutes.
it's one of
I
those things
just
where
don't.
on Rotten Tomatoes has an 81% tomato meter rating. That's the critics, and then it has a 95% audience score. So the audience, 95% of the audience that have seen it really likes it, but it only made like $800,000. It's a brand new movie. It's just one of those things where it's an enjoyable movie. It's like a rom-com type thing, but it's kind of depressing. It's a whole, history of a relationship. But, like you just said, you love everybody, but, you know, the movie doesn't interest you and that theme, that type of thing, you're not going to go out of your way to see it, which is fine. Because there was another movie that was in theaters called Bros.
I was just going to tell you that's another one that I looked at
Yeah.
and thought, man, I don't need
So
to see that, brah.
exactly.
I don't need to
So
see it. God bless you. Do what you want, but
people
go
have
ahead.
their views. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm a straight male. Joe, you're a straight male. But
Hmm.
we're very like, liberal with our social views and accepting everybody.
And Christian views. I mean, if you believe in Jesus Christ at all, you gotta, and I don't want to hear the stuff that he said. No, he didn't. He never talked about, this kind of thing. And think about it. Would Christ want you to go beat up somebody just because they were gay, or pick on them after school, or do this, or do some cruel things to them just because they were gay? No.
Yeah.
To each
So
and every one of my brothers, as you're doing to me. So I'm going to just back off of that. But all I'm saying is, I just don't need it in my all the being thrown at me all the time. That's all. I just feel like, come on
yeah,
with it.
I
That's
mean,
all.
listen, that's your personal opinion. But
Yes, and I'm sorry, it is. Go ahead.
yeah, it's one of those things. I kind of feel a little bit bad for the LGBTQ community when they put so much heart and soul and effort into these feature films, and they're in theaters, they're not just streaming, and then they kind of just don't do well in the box office at all because so many people just disregard it and just have no interest in seeing it. And um, as a society, we still haven't, you know, evolved and advanced to where it's like second nature to just see a movie regardless of the genders that are falling in love in the movie. But I just wanted to mention that because you asked me how my weekend was. Um,
Yeah.
I saw a movie and there just really wasn't anybody else in the theater. The movie didn't even make $1 million, but it was just a well-made movie. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that really quick. But yeah, man. So far the week's okay. I'm off on Tuesday, so we're gonna start recording. I think more Tuesday shows. So if anyone was looking forward to the shows on Monday night, Tuesday morning, I apologize for now because we can't. There's other things going on in our lives where Monday night is not necessarily feasible right now. But we're doing them on Tuesday. They're gonna be up right after this. It's gonna be up on. We do these shows basically live, and there's literally like no editing really, and we just get them out there. We're churning out 2 a week. But before the weekend, though, I went to see one of my favorite bands, Jimmy Eat World, at Parks Casino. I'd never been to Parks Casino. It's really not that far from where I live. It was a nice, intimate show. I mean, it was the crowd was good. They played all their major hits. Sweetness in the Middle are two of their main songs that people know from around like 2004. But they're still playing. They're still doing their thing. I saw him in Sayreville earlier this year, a couple months ago, and the lead singer Jim Atkins lost his voice, and he had to cut the show short. So he apologized, even at Parks Casino on Thursday. He apologized for that. He's like, "Was anybody in Sayreville? I apologize for that." But I had a good time. I got to see the concert. The ticket wasn't that expensive. It was an intimate thing. I was right near the stage. It's a really small venue. It's in a casino. But they gave the people who bought the ticket a free. It was sponsored by Miller Lite, so they gave us a free Miller Lite, which I thought that was cool because not a lot of concerts you go to they're giving you free drinks. So it was cool. I didn't play poker. I was thinking about playing poker right after the concert, but I chose to just pick up some food there and go home. But it was fun though. One thing that happened today was a famous football coach named Mike Leach died.
Yeah.
He was only 61. I think he suddenly got ill and then died. But he's really famous for like his quotes. One of his he was always saying something crazy in a press conference, but really philosophical and really meaningful and really deep if you actually think about it. One quote that he had talked about a post game. He said, "It's kind of like doing surgery with a chainsaw instead of a scalpel. We had pieces and parts flying everywhere. It turned out in our favor. We've just got to clean it up the next time around." So he said a lot of the top of his head probably just said that, but he's also known for the air raid offense. He really he's an innovator. So the air raid offense, basically, it's a shotgun formation. If you know football, where there's 4 wide receivers and only 1 running back. Just a lot of air power, a lot of passing. So he was successful at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. Finally, was his last school. But Joe, what is your opinion of Mike Leach? Did you're not a huge college football guy, but you knew of him, right?
And therein lies the rub. I'm not really a large college football. I don't dislike college football. To me, there's the NFL and then there's everything else. But college football is cool if it's on, right? But I'm not an avid follower of college football, but I know who he was. And that's the point. I think everyone pretty much in the sporting world knew who this cat was because he was unique and he was very clever. Incidentally, I think he had a heart condition is what took him, and that can go south in a hurry. So he had some kind of a heart condition. But I can remember the last thing I remember from him, and it was just funny. It was Halloween time. And one of the reporters asked him on the field, like on the sideline after the game as he's walking off, "Are you going to get some Halloween candy?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to get Halloween candy." And the guy asked, "Well, what's your favorite Halloween candy?" And instead of just saying one thing, he stops walking and he stands still and he goes, I like this over here, and I like those, I forget what the candy was, but the point was he listed about 2 or 3 things that he really liked, and he said, "I don't like those little licorice things, those good and plenties and this." And then he started to list the things that he didn't like. I mean, it was the typical, he was a real character, and he was like the Yogi Berra of college football, with the sayings that are just really clever and the personality. He made it all go. And he was a funny guy. Intrinsically, he was funny. So it's
special
sad to see him
people
go.
like that, where they're just like I think you're like that too, like you're just really naturally like innately funny and just like
I've heard that.
People ask you questions, you put thought. I mean, he put thought. Even someone asked him about Halloween candy, and he stopped and put thought into it. You put thought into what people say. You don't brush it off and just like disregard, like they basically didn't say anything. And you put thought into it, but you have these clever lines and these stories and these anecdotes, and it makes you like into the character and that person that people gravitate towards. He was definitely one of them.
Yeah, he was. It's a shame to see him go. As a matter of fact, I just saw him on a show, and I can't remember who the interviewer was. I can't remember exactly, but he was on one of these shows, and he did like a 20-minute interview. I think it may have been Johnny Bananas, but I'm not sure. But somebody interviewed him recently on a show and took you down to Florida, and he had a beautiful house, of course. These college football coaches make what kind of money. But it took the interviewer out on a boat, and they were fishing out there. And so it was like hanging with him for a half an hour or so, however long the show was. And I just remember enjoying it and really enjoying it. And I wish I could remember for the life of me who that interviewer was, but it escapes me for now. But the point is, he was a unique fella, and he enjoyed life, and I think he enjoyed engaging people, and he enjoyed humor.
He was kind of like on the borderline of like some people might think he's crazy, but he was like a crazy mad genius when it came to football.
Eccentric, I would call
I
him,
think
not
he
crazy.
actually has,
A little
yeah,
eccentric,
because
maybe.
not crazy like crazy, but like,
Right, right. A little
crazy,
eccentric, yeah.
people use
Yeah, he
crazy as
was.
a term of endearment these days, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think he actually had like a really famous book, or I might actually check it out if I get a chance. Yeah, he actually wrote a decent amount of books. Like one book he has is called Swing Your Sword, Leading the Charge in Football in Life. So it has really good ratings on Amazon. I bet it has a lot of good insights. And like, if you're really, yeah, that's his, the book that he wrote. Um, but Swing Your Sword, Leading the Charge in Football and Life, bestseller, temporarily out of stock. Interesting. And, it's probably going to be, probably because he died, or I don't know, but
And one of the things I do remember that the interviewer asked him how he came up with the name air raid offense. And they're expecting some kind of an, X's and O's type of reason, rationale for calling it the air raid offense. And here he just says, hey, look, this thing has been around. He talked about Jack Pardee and the Houston Oilers used to run something called the run and shoot. He said, this notion has been around for a while. You spread them out and you throw the ball. And he says, I forget one of his first places where he went and implemented this. They scored a touchdown. And the guy in the end zone, or one of the team mascots, wherever it was, he fired off one of those horns, an air raid horn.
oh,
And
wow.
and that's, I swear, you'll read that somewhere if you read the book, but I remember seeing from the interview and think, well, that's interesting. How ironic things can just be. But that's why he named it that way, because the guy scored a touchdown, and it was one of his first coaching jobs there where he implemented this offense, and he just figured, okay, that's it. That's what I'm gonna call it. So that's cool. It's pretty
Yeah,
neat.
I love how, like, you didn't really do, like, before the show, we weren't like doing a tons of research on Mike Leach, but like you automatically on the top of your head have all this anecdotes and information. It's great. That's the type of
Well, yeah, you had, to be honest, you said, Mike Leach died today. And I said, yeah, I did. I saw that. And you told me you were going to mention him. And do I have anything to say? And I said, yeah, I'll say it when you mention it. That's all. That's how we do it. But
absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, we do a little bit more research behind the scenes and stuff, but
when necessary. Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, so we're just trying to keep it natural and flowing here.
Hmm.
We're not writing dissertations every show and, like, giving lectures. We're trying to keep it conversational. So, but no, the thing
Right.
about Mike Leach, he made a mark on a lot. Even if you weren't a football fan, I bet, I haven't read his book, but I bet his book has a lot of insights that anybody can use in business, in life. I'm sure that it does. Because I love getting little insights from people who are very successful and just, picking their brain and, taking
Hmm.
little things and like, what do they do? How'd they do that? And, just kind of putting in your own world, your own life. It really, but, another one I want to talk about, because we focus on an actor almost every episode. And today, we'll talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman. He died in 2014. He was very young. I think drugs were involved, but the
It
guy,
was, it was, it was
he was
heroin
only
and
like
some other thing.
46 or something when he died. And he had a hell
Yeah.
of a body of work. Um, and this guy, for me, he made his mark when I first saw a movie with Ben Stiller called Along Came Polly. Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston, one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And in this movie, there's a scene where he's at a party, and because he's a washed up actor in the movie, his name is Sandy Lyle, and he's at a party, and he tells Ben Stiller, he's like, "We got to go." He's trying to be really like quiet about it. He's like, "Why? What happened?" He's like, I just farted and shit came out. I sharted." He called, when you fart and shit comes out, a shart. And he's like, "We got to get the fuck out of here." Um, it's like, it was like one of the funniest things, but like he was probably on my radar before that. But then I started watching, because I had seen movies that he was in, but wasn't like heavily focused on him. But trying to think of a top 5 list today, it was just going down his body of work, because, he was born in Rochester, New York. He's very educated in the actor world, because he went to like the Tisch School at NYU, which is like classically trained drama students there. So he knows, he's classically trained actor. But he had so many good movies, and I don't know if I can narrow it down to the top 5, but if I'm going 5 to 1, probably gonna say I think I'm gonna do Along Came. I know Along Came Polly is just a comedy, but his role as Sandy Lyle and the speech that he gives in the boardroom at the end of that movie is just like classic. So I think Along Came Polly is gonna be 1 for me. we talked about this other movie that he was in. I guess I'll start, yeah, I guess I'll start with the fifth movie, 25th Arrow. We talked about that because that was an Edward Norton movie. We talked about Edward Norton a couple episodes ago. He was in 25th Hour too.
Right.
So I guess 25th Hour 5, Hour 5. It's just a tough one for me. I guess I say Boogie Nights 4 with Mark Wahlberg. Boogie Nights 4. 3, Big Lebowski. Even if he didn't have a big role in these movies, I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these movies, but these are just like overall the movies.
The length of the role doesn't have to be,
exactly.
Doesn't have to.
Exactly. So I think I had Almost Famous, Boogie Nights, Along Came 25th Hour was 5. Boogie Nights 4. Almost Famous 3. Along Came Polly's 1. So the question would be, what would be 2? I guess I'll have to say, because he was in Talented Mr. Ripley. He was in Doubt. We talked about Doubt.
Yeah.
He was in Ides of March with Ryan Gosling. I'm still having a tough time choosing between The Master and Moneyball, but I think I'm going to go with The Master. Moneyball should definitely, he's so many movies. Like he was in, you'll talk about it in a second, but I guess The Master is kind of about a fictional character, but it's basically based off the religion of Scientology. And he plays like the leader and the founder, like of Scientology. And some of the scenes, like he has some of the scenes in that movie are so intense and he's so manipulative, and you know how these cult leaders are. But they're in prison in a scene, and he's trying to explain to this guy how, like, you know, why he's in prison and how his mind works. There's like a push-pull mechanism, and his spirit is going through different bodies and stuff. And there's all these, you know, karmic reasons why he's going through what he's going through, and he's trying to fix them and stuff. But it's a very intense scene. It's on YouTube. There's a bunch of scenes on YouTube for that movie. But so I guess The Master would be 2 and Along Came Polly 1. But Joe, you mentioned, you saw, you remember that he was in A Scent of a Woman, right?
Yes, I do. I loved him in that movie because he played that part so well. He played a little snot nose prep school shit. You know, that's what. Not that all. I mean, look, there are, you know,
Yep.
not that everybody that went to prep school is, and that's not what I mean. I mean, he was among the prep school kids. He was a little shit that his character played, and a little spoiled. And if you remember that movie, there was Charlie was. Charlie was the young fella that was driving Al Pacino around. He was babysitting him, for lack of a better term, like, you know, chaperoning him, Charlie. Now, Charlie got in trouble because of something that he and 3 or 4 other kids did in that movie, like mischief. And Hoffman was the main ringleader there. And then when they really got in trouble, Hoffman started to, one of my favorite lines in that movie is when Charlie gets off the phone, the kid that was with Pacino, and, you know, he gets off the phone with Hoffman, and he says to Pacino, he says, yeah, and such his name, Billy, he's going to talk to his father and see if he can get us off. And Pacino goes, watch that us part. Watch that us part. You know what I mean? Because it's time like that when it's like the old story of the 2 guys that are out running through the jungle, and they see a lion, and the one guy puts on his track shoes and tightens them up, and he says, what are you doing? You're not going to outrun a lion. He says, I know I'm not going to outrun a lion, but I'm going to outrun you. You know, everybody's, and when things get tough and the heat is on, certain people are going to stick with you, and some people are going to abandon you and say good luck. And that's what Hoffman's character did in the movie. And I don't like his character, but I think his acting was superb, even at a young age. That's my point. And who doesn't like, I mean, I just love the movie, Almost Famous. I mean, I love that. I mean, who doesn't love that movie? I mean, the music and everything.
Yeah, what did I rank that? I put that in the top 5, but what did I put it at? Did I put Almost Famous at like 3?
I think you put it at 3. I would put it way up there.
I think Almost Famous might have to switch with The Master. So maybe The Master at 3 and Almost Famous at 2, because Almost Famous is a legendary, you know.
Yeah, and he played that part really well too. And he was there. He had to be there all throughout the movie, and he played that part really well. And then you had that movie, you had the music, and you had Blondie, what's her name? Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Yeah. Oh man.
Kate Hudson.
Yep.
Oh, and you had a lot of things going on. You had Elton John music, not just one song either.
Tiny
You
Dancers from that, right?
had Tiny Dancer on the
Yep.
bus, and then in the restaurant in New York, they played Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's was playing. I mean, and then you had just some other so you had some Hendrix songs in there. You had some Zeppelin in there. It was just the music and the beautiful women and everything else. And he was involved with that. So so if he was involved with it, he gets a check mark there too. But no, it's a good choice. It's because you didn't go for it's nice. Like I said, that's why I wanted to go for to Ed Norton. It's nice to get that actor that's not necessarily the top. And of
Well,
course, I'm
here's
going
the
to have my
thing,
night
though.
where we do De Niro. I'm going to do that.
I think
But
there's a strong argument for Philip Seymour Hoffman as being one of the greatest actors ever, especially if he survived and lived longer, because his body of work. He was also in the Hunger Games trilogy. If you remember the Hunger Games, his body of work is incredible.
Yeah, I think to me, if you want my opinion, I think I think that's a little that's hyperbole a little bit. I do think I mean, I put him on the same level as Norton. It's not an A actor like a show like an absolute, but it's that solid B list like
Dude, I
scraping
don't
on the
know, man.
A.
I think
That to me, well, it's everything's subjective, Sean. So
yeah, but I'm
everything's
just telling you,
subjective.
go back. I'll send you. I'm gonna start sending you a bunch of Philip Seymour Hoffman YouTube movie
No,
clips.
I'm not. You don't
Like,
have to send it to me because my opinion is my opinion, and you don't have to try to persuade me or buy me or
yeah,
anything like that.
but I'm
It's
such.
cool, and
I
I'm not
was
going to
like
try to dissuade you from
such.
thinking that he's an A.
Yeah, but such a fan, and this guy is just by talent alone,
Oh, a
not
hell
just
of an
body.
actor.
Oh my god!
Let's say
Um,
the dude was a hell of an actor.
yeah,
Let's just say
and
that.
he's gone too soon. And you just I don't know, if he had another 20 years in the movies that he would have been in and the roles that he would have played, because he's the type of actor where when you're writing a movie, you could think of like the role and write it around Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's not like you write the role and then pick out an actor. He's the type of guy who can like literally be customized for that role, and only him could do the role. That's the thing about him, which I loved about him. But you mentioned Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. They played in Almost Famous. I saw Elton John in MetLife Stadium in July, and he told the crowd, "This is the last time I'm ever going to play Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters." And he played that song for the last time ever in his whole career. So I saw the last performance of that.
Oh man, and I'll tell you, when I first heard it, it was just like blah. I used to pass over it and like listen. Then I stopped and really listened to it, and then it was talking about my seeds will be sown in New York City, and this guy. Not that I'm a Philadelphia guy, whatever. But everyone loves New York because it's got a certain mystique about it. Just those words, those lyrics, and the music itself was. And like I said, the music and the words were just with Elton quite often, like, they would captivate you. But sons of bankers, sons of lawyers, and it's just really good. And it was in there. It was in when they were obviously, when they were in New York City. But that whole movie had just awesome. Every song was like, yeah, all right, yeah, it was
Yeah,
cool.
well, another thing we couldn't do. This is Joe and I thinking live on the fly here. We could, because we spotlight actors and we do song lyrics and we do all these different things. But we'll have episodes where we can like focus a good half an hour on just one movie, and we'll watch the movie before. I'll watch it myself, you watch it yourself, type of thing, and then we'll just discuss it on the air. And I think the audience would actually really enjoy that. Hearing let's just break down a movie, like especially these legendary movies.
Well, I got a
That could
better,
be
not
interesting.
good idea. That's an excellent idea, Sean. And I want to add to it. And it's not better. It's adding to it. That what we should do is take one show, and if it's an hour, if it's a little longer, an hour, but whatever it is, but take half of the show for the movie, the aforementioned movie that okay. And then we'll take the other half of the show and we'll dissect a song.
That's really good too. Yeah, because we're breaking down these like
We'll
bite-sized
call,
pieces of lyrics, and it's really just like on a micro level, just a
yeah.
lyric. We're honing in on the lyric, but so there are songs that are just truly works of art where we can also break that down. So I think our audience will look forward to that for sure. This is one thing about podcasts, just speaking on top of my mind right now, and just stream of consciousness kind of, but podcasts are cool, but we don't have the callers who can call in live and give us that live feedback. There's something to be said about, because radio, a lot of people say radio is dying, because I listen to the Howard Stern show religiously, and he's one of the last true survivors of radio. He's on Sirius, and they do have all the episodes on the Sirius app and everything, so you could consume it like a podcast. But he's like, I don't have a lot of advice for radio people trying to get in radio, because it's really kind of a dying industry, kind of. But one thing that radio has that podcast doesn't have, at least when we're doing these podcasts recorded and we're not on YouTube live or anything, which we might be in the future, is we don't have those callers and those consistent callers like Manny from New Mexico calling in every show. Like, Manny, how's it going? And then, getting that live reaction and stuff. So I really want to look into, doing possibly some live shows in the future, especially if we keep getting bigger and bigger. Because that's one thing about radio that's like how it is. You listen to sports radio. There's something cool about when callers call in, Well,
it is, but I think that lends itself more towards sports radio and this and that. And what we do here is sports is only a small part of it. And I love everybody out there. And I said on the air one night, couple of shows ago, I said, and I stopped, and I really wanted to, for emphasis, we value you. You said I was being robotic, but I'm not. I'll let you go. But it's okay. But I wanted to stop for emphasis. I said, everybody out there listening, thank you. We value you. We thank you for listening to us. We're very humbled by it, and But that being said, I personally, I'm not really feeling the idea of having conversations or having someone come up and say, oh, Joe, you said Angel Suarez the other night was a Phillies pitcher, when really it's Ranger Suarez.
Well, I mean, we're not at the level.
I'm not interested in debating Bill from Perth Amboy. I'm not. I'm just,
we're not at the level of like screening callers, for example, but there are systems in place on a lot of these professional shows, like the Dan Patrick Show. They have a guy designated just to answering callers, and you could screen people. Sometimes they fool you.
Yes,
but some guy calling in wouldn't be able to get on the air just because he wants to badge you for getting a name wrong or that type of thing.
But I'm just not interested in having a debate with John Q. Public.
Yeah, but I really like that stuff, and I love debating, so I'm interested in that for sure. But also, we could do listener emails. We could open up an email. We could create an email address and have listeners send us emails so we can go through it slowly before the show. Maybe we'll pick out one email that's really thoughtful. That type of thing, I think, can be cool too. Where the person's not on air, but we can talk about the email they sent and break down if they have a suggested topic. I'm definitely open to that for sure.
I'm just not. And I don't say this facetiously. I'm just not that needy in getting that kind of, I'm just not. I enjoy doing what we do. And for those of you who listen to us and like us, thank you. And for those of you who don't, it's okay. It's fine. If you don't like root beer, go have a 7-Up or something. It's okay. There's no animus at all. God bless you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You don't like our show? It's all right. It really, really is. And for those of you who do, I thank you. But I'm not going to, for the ones that want to go have the Sprite, I'm not going to go over there and try to drag them over or debate why they.
No, this isn't about getting.
I'm just not that needy. I'm just not that needy.
It's not about attracting a certain audience necessarily. It's about like me as a host and what I want to do. I certainly would enjoy going through listener emails and having them, because you like to feel like you're part of the show, and a lot of things that makes these other shows successful. And one of the reasons I love shows like Howard Stern Show and the Dan Patrick Show. I like the Dave Portnoy Show, but that's on hiatus for now. Hopefully that comes back.
Maybe that's something you and I'll talk about. That's all. Yeah, but for right now,
for our audience, this is me and Joe kind of brainstorming for the show live on air, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and it's something maybe you and I will talk about later. But what's on the docket, Chief? What's on your docket? In all seriousnness, what's on the agenda for
some pet peeves? One pet peeve that kind of annoys me is I drink a lot of instant drinks. I drink a lot of Crystal Light, like lemonades. I drink those religiously. Right?
I used to drink the iced teas quite a bit. Yeah.
I'm going to give Crystal Light. The thing that annoys me about I'm getting to it is that the packaging on these little, because usually 10 comes in a box, they're little things of powder, and you rip off the top and you pour it in your drink. But some companies have not perfected being able to rip off the top without using scissors and pour it in, because I like this one drink called Celsius, and Celsius it's an energy drink. It's a fat burning drink. They sell it in Walmart, on Amazon, etc. They sell it all Wawa and 7-Eleven in cans. It's carbonated, some of the cans, but you can get the instant one too, and it's great. It's a little expensive. It's like 14 packs for $10. But you're paying less than $1 per drink, which if you think about it is way better than going into a store and buying a can. But anyway, some of the like Celsius, I have to use a scissor to chop off the top of the Celsius before I pour it into the water. It is the most frustrating thing ever. But Crystal Light, there's no problem at all. I just rip it off. Do you drink any of these instant drinks? Do you get annoyed by stuff like that? Has it ever happened where you can't rip it off? You need to use scissors?
It's been, like I said, I used to drink the peach iced tea they made. They made a peach iced tea and a lemon iced tea and a mango iced tea. I loved all three.
Yeah, they make them.
And okay. But I haven't had them in a while because I just switched I go in and I get Turkey Hill makes like an iced tea that's already made. And I just buy it like every week. I just go buy 1.5 gallons. And if I run out, I go to Wawa and get their diet iced tea, which is lemon iced tea. So I just buy my iced tea just ready to go. I don't mix my own anymore. But that being said, I don't remember ever having any real problems back in the day. I used to buy them by the plastic, it's a plastic cylinder that you buy. And in that plastic cylinder, you have either 4 or 6 or 8 envelopes, right? Oblong envelopes.
You're buying like you're buying them in bulk, kind of the bigger ones where you make a ton at a time, not just one like Poland Spring bottle, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would buy it was a canister, maybe 6 to 8 inches high. And in that canister were like 8 packs, 6 to 8 packs. And you take a pack and that would make you 2 quarts, right? So, so you're buying, 8 packs, 2 quarts, 16 quarts at a time, dry. So I'm not sure. And it has been a while. It's been.
Okay. So it's something you can't really relate to right now but this
exactly.
is top of my mind because literally I have a Celsius almost every day, and today I thought I won. I was like, oh my God, I can rip it off. So I ripped off the top, and I thought it was open, and I go to pour it in my drink, my cold bottle of water, the standard 16 ounce, those bottles. I go to pour it in, nothing comes out. I'm like, oh man. So let me rip off the top, but it's still closed. So then I had to walk over to my desk and get the scissors out and cut off the top. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like, I tweeted about this in the past. It's one of those annoying things, but Celsius, if you're listening, anybody out there knows, please fix your instant drink, individual packages where people just rip it off, and then a lot of people will use their teeth and stuff, but then it gets messy. And then if you get a little bit of the powder wet, then it gets sticky and it won't come out of the thing. That's one of my pet peeves that I have. What about you, Joe? Any recent pet peeves that really in the past couple of days that you could think of?
Believe it or not, I've been so tired in the last couple of days, and I have other things on my mind that it's rare. But I don't think I have any recent pet peeves, honestly. Okay. I'm delaying a little bit because I'm trying to think of one, but it escapes me right now. And you know what? I'm going to put in the Jeopardy music.
I'm going to put in the Jeopardy music, and I expect the answer to be what is.
Exactly. But no, I don't. Everything's good.
So I read a lot of New York Times, and I just came across this article recently, the past couple of days about the Hasidic Jewish education in New York City. It's really
say that again.
Hasidic Jewish education.
Okay.
So, I respect all religions and whatnot and their own beliefs, but there's a problem, according to this article, with the Hasidic Jewish people in New York City when it comes to education. They're teaching them, they're in these really religious schools and they're separated from everyone else, and their education is not secular. And the parents want them to be able to read English and stuff, because a lot of these kids can't read the side of a cereal box. They can't read the English on the side of a cereal box because they only know is the Yiddish or whatever language they're speaking. And the courts, when they get divorced, and the parents, like a lot of times the parents get divorced over issues like this, the education and whatever, but when they get divorced, it's all decided by like rabbis in a really small, like 3-person committee. And they make the kids stay in the religious school, the non-secular school. And they're not learning anything. And once they hit a certain age, they stop learning about other stuff. And some of these kids can't even read. And it's like, how are they expected to go into the world and like learn and be, citizens and get careers if they can't read and speak English well? It's such like an archaic sort of system they have where the state court systems, give precedence to these small committees. And these poor kids end up growing up without real education. They're not learning science. They're not learning math. They're blocked from learning certain subjects. All they're learning is all about their religion. And I guess if they want everybody to be a rabbi, fine. But if you're a rabbi, I'm guessing you got to relate to people. You got to be able to speak English. You got to give your lectures and whatever they do. And, it's just a really upsetting article. And I read it. I'm like, man, like imagine not being able to read the side of a cereal box, and because your family's so focused on your learning your religion, and you're stuck in these schools that are not secular, and they're not learning all about these topics and expanding your mind.
Let me just ask you this real quickly, make sure I understand you correctly. That these folks are living in antiquated in ways as far as their family structure, as far as they're educating their children and so forth. There is no curriculum other than scripture, and it's not even scripture in English.
Exactly.
It's scripture in Aramaic or whatever, the Hebrew, whatever okay. So, and then they get divorced, and the kids are. Now, tell me more about what you touched on it, but the courts are who doesn't now that you're talking about New York now how does New York State how are they not getting more involved in saying
they have these agreements. So the agreements are typically upheld by New York State judges seeking to follow precedent, and the precedent is their antiquated laws. So they have binding divorce settlement agreements, and the children must remain in intensely religious schools, even if they provide little secular education. There's a 3-judge arbitration panel of rabbis and other community leaders. They're informal arms of the Hasidic leadership. It's just one of those things, and the
because of 3 words following the precedent.
Because there's a precedent, and one parent wants to put them in secular school so they can learn all regular education and go into the world and go to college and do all this successful. But these little councils and arbitration panels that are full of rabbis and community members, they have more power over a state. They try to go to the state courts, and the state courts can't do anything about it because the precedent.
Again, that's why I wanted to get the state courts are pretty much they feel their hands are tied because the state statute says that they should really perpetuate the precedent.
And they're getting hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayers' money per year for these schools and stuff. And they're just not learning real lessons that are taught. Because a lot of private schools and most states in the country, if you go to a private school, there's an agreement that the private school has to teach you what the public school is teaching. They have to teach you the science, the math. You have to be up because a lot of public school systems could be better than private schools, to be honest with you. But there's an agreement where the private schools, even if it's Catholic school, whatever type of religion it is, a Muslim school, I don't know the Muslim laws, but I know the Catholic schools, they have to teach what public schools are teaching to keep the kids, on the same level as other students. And in these Hasidic Jewish schools, they're not required to do that. And, there's a lot of messy divorces and stuff. And one parent might get custody of the kids, but the other parent, the panel sides with them, and they have to keep them in the non-secular education where they're just learning all about religion. And then they hit a certain age. I don't even know if they have to go to high school, but
they're ill-prepared.
You were in the education world. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's a catastrophe, and I think that I love religion. I do. I love religion to an extent, and I think, like anything else, in excess, it can be really detrimental. And this is a case where religion is in excess, and it's extremely detrimental to those kids because they're ill prepared to be in the real world. And it's almost unconscionable that if you really love your child, I mean, what's really a shame is they love their children, both the one parent that wants to send them and get them an education so they're prepared, and the other one, I think they love their child too, but they're so disillusioned that they think the way they can show their child the love is to keep them from the public school and to perpetuate the current status and just teach them isolated, and they're doing it with good intention. And what's scary to me is that parent that's doing that with good intention really thinks that he or she is doing the right thing because God said to do that. And I think that's where we can get indoctrinated, and not only the Jewish faith, We've seen indoctrination in other faiths and how horrific that can be. We've seen, and I'm not going to name any, but I'm talking about it. We've seen indoctrination by people in all kinds of faiths, and what extreme measures and things can happen through disillusionment and indoctrination. And I just think it's scary. And this world is so tough. It's tough enough, even, believe me, folks, even when you have a master's degree, it's not easy. It's tough. And I can't even think about a kid today trying to make it in this world without, forget college degree, without even a good, adequate high school education. In the name of what?
Yep.
I think so.
Another barrier is there's a rabbinical court system known as Beth Din. Beth Din. It's rooted in centuries old legal tradition. It's an alternative to civil courts for Orthodox and Hasidic Jewish people worldwide. They meditate business conflicts, divorces, and other disputes. So it's not just like these divorce disputes and where the kids can go to school. They're still giving precedent, and they're giving like this archaic
priority. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, wow. I mean, it's like, when I read articles like that, I'm like, man, that really, there's a whole other worlds out there. And people, I know it can be a culture shock for a Hasidic Jewish young person going into like public school all of a sudden after being with all their friends and everyone's the same religion. And it can be a culture shock, but there's ways to do it. There's ways to get them acclimated, to get them ready for the real world, I think,
I do. And you know what? It's not, and again, I think it was clear when I said this the first time, and as I respect all religions, and if I think religion in its proper doses and its proper perspective with young people, I think it's a good thing because it instills love for other people, and instills kindness, and instills good deeds, and all those kinds of things. I think it's a great thing, but your X's, your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, and that's terribly, terribly important too. And I think if they were receiving a half a day of religion and a half a day of the other stuff, that's good enough for me. Even though I think that half is too much, a little too much. I think 30% would be more than adequate. But even if they were receiving a half a day of the religious stuff and a half a day of the other, if you really did a good job and concentrated it, I think that would be adequate. And again, listen, the Jewish people, Muslim people, Hindu people, Christian people, everybody, that's everybody. This particular example to which you're referring happens to be folks of the Jewish faith, but these type of dilemmas exist everywhere. So let us both make at all.
Talking about a whole religion here. We're just saying. I read a New York Times article, and I was just very shocked when I was reading. I was like, this is really,
right. In this example, that's the one that is. I just don't want anybody.
Another section of New York Times that I like to read consistently is Modern Love, and there's a show on Amazon based on it. It's called Modern Love. But it's really like short stories about love stories. It could be anything. It could be between a romantic relationship. It could be about a family. But I read one before the show. It's about this mother who was like an alcoholic for years, and the kids like suffer, because it was detrimental to them having like an alcoholic mother. She didn't give them the proper food and all these different things and take care of them the way they're supposed to be taken care of. But one Christmas, the kid said to her, "It's like I want to get a Christmas card like everyone else gets, with the family all dressed up and it's nice Christmas outfits and stuff. Can we do that?" And the mom was on a budget. She didn't have a lot of money. She was in rehab. So they went to a TJ Maxx and they dressed in Christmas clothes at the TJ Maxx, and they went in the dressing room and took a Christmas photo that they used for a Christmas card. And it was just a nice little heartwarming story. They didn't buy the clothes or anything, but they had the Christmas picture with the Christmas stuff on because they couldn't afford anything.
Wow.
And this Modern Love section is full of stuff like that. It's 100 words or less about modern love. I really was, when I read that, I was really like, that's cool.
Well, it is cool because when I first of all, when I heard that, I thought of the David Bowie song, "Get Me to the Church on Time," and I was like, "Well, wait, what's the?" But then Modern Love, and I thought, "Oh, it's like a dating thing, or does that?" No, and I haven't seen it, but I'm from what I can derive, the word love is used liberally all over the place, exactly. Like any kind of love. The next story could be about a man and his son going out to a ball game and buying a puppy on the way home or whatever.
Exactly.
Love.
Every time I read these, because they're such like heartwarming stories, It is like, I recommend it to anybody. The 100 words or less, you read these. There's probably like 5 of them for New York Times issue, a couple times a week or whatever. It's just a good section. It's heartwarming, you know?
And it makes you feel good, dude. I mean, after you turn off the 11 o'clock news, I watched it. I watch news every night because I'm just interested in what's going on in the world. And I don't mean it, the whole newscast is bad, but what I'm saying is there are enough bad stories and stories that make us feel a little down, that it's just so cool when you can see something like that. Or I saw one time on a show, they did research, and the human brain reacts differently. There are more endorphins that are released, a lot more that are released. I think not, as opposed to, they did an experiment with several people, and this was like over a long period of time, and they had them witness something upsetting, like a dog limping across the street or something like that, something, and then they would have them observe something really nice, like like a little kid walking up to a homeless person and giving them $1 or something, like a good deed or something like that, right? And these examples vary, but they would observe the brain chemicals of a person while they watch something sad, and then they would observe the brain chemicals of that same person while they watch something heartwarming, loving, something like that, and the brain showed a marked difference. And all the times that they witnessed something heartwarming and loving and all that, there were actually endorphins that were released. So, and that's just witnessing an event. That's not even being a part of that whole thing. So, when you see somebody out in the street that gets punched in the face or something like that, and then you look over here and you watch somebody giving someone else a hug, your brain is reacting differently to each one, whether you realize it or not. And actual endorphins are released when we, I think the words were acts of kindness as opposed to acts of unkindness. And it's physiological too. So I just wanted to bring that out.
I love psychological stuff like that.
And that's true stuff. You can check it out.
I believe you. I believe you. So let's move on to the sports segment of the show. So how about those Eagles, man?
Yeah, we talked about a month ago, and I was worried about their run defense. I thought they were getting soft, and I thought that they were getting ready to teeter-totter, and I thought Humpty Dumpty was coming off the wall. But what they did was they went out and got Dominic Sue, they got Joseph, they got Davis back, and now they're like the Great Wall of China up there. Nobody's running on them. They're good on the back end, although they have some, some key injuries in the back there. The starting one of the starting safeties, Gardner, I can't forget his last name. That's terrible of me not knowing his Gardner Johnson, I think. But he's out. But that being said, they still got 2 of the best corners in the game. The other safety is very good. A linebacking core is playing very well. Bottom line is their defense is really solid, really playing well, can stop just about anybody. And offensively, I mean, what they just did to the Giants, it was like, if you saw that game, they were throwing the football all over the place in the first half. The Giants started to get a beat on what they were doing. And just when the Giants started to get beat on what they were doing, throwing the ball, it's like they went to the sideline and said, okay, you know what? Let's run it now. And they just started running the ball all over the place. It was sad to watch. It was fun to watch as an Eagles fan. But it was, and I say sad because it was just the Giants, they got a beat on what the Eagles were doing in the passing game in the first half. They come out and they start, and you figure, okay, here, then they make a comeback. And the Eagles just said, okay, you know what? Let's change it up now. Let's do that other thing that we do well, because we do both so well. Let's run it now. And they just ran, and it was like floodgates opened up. So it was cool. Now, the Giants aren't the best barometer to use. I said to you in October, I said, look, just give them time. They're improved, but they're not improved this much. And that coach is a good coach, but he's not Vince Lombardi. Let's don't get excited. And that's coming to fruition. Be that as it may, the Giants were a reasonably formidable opponent, but they were dismantled. I mean, they dismantled them. And I have no fear whatsoever anymore of that game on Christmas Eve. I see their opponent, who I respect very well, the Dallas Cowboys, as a very good football team, but I see them not just in this Houston game, but the past couple of games, they're just not the same. They let Indy stay with them for 3 quarters in their own building, right? They let the Texans, this is all last 3 games were in their own building. And the Giants were there, and they stayed with them for 3 quarters. And I know there were fumble recoveries and all kinds of things, but I'm talking about offense versus defense. In our game with the Giants, we didn't have any of these fumble recoveries or anything. It was X against O. It was offense against defense. So I'm not guaranteeing a win, but I feel better as an Eagles fan now that they're going to go kick ass in Chicago. I do. And I think they're going to go down there. And I think they're not only going to win this football game, I think they're going to win this football game by more than 10 points. And I would not have said that a month ago, because I just don't think the Dallas Cowboys are who we thought they were, who I thought they were. They're leaking oil. And I just saw today they lost another offensive lineman, a starter.
Yeah, but I think we're getting Tyron Smith back eventually, and he's really good. So,
well, when you're going to have Jason Peters out there on the right tackle, and that's going to put problems.
You're super confident about Christmas Eve, buddy. I don't know about that, man.
Well, I respect you feeling that way. But when you get this ball club coming in here, they're not the Indianapolis Colts, they're not the New York Giants, and they're not the Texans.
The thing about the Cowboys last episode was, I don't know if we're going to beat the Texans. I don't know if we're going to lose to the Texans. We're expected to win by a lot. We're favored by a lot. And I said I wouldn't be surprised if we lost, and we almost did lose, except, we won basically in the last minute. I didn't see the game because it wasn't on TV, and I wasn't willing, because every time I go to stream these games that are on TV, and you find these websites like Stream East and stuff, they have tons of ads, and the stream doesn't really work well, so it's not worth my time and effort. I really miss DirecTV's NFL Sunday ticket package. I used to have every game, because now we have Red Zone. It's cool. We can see every touchdown, but Sunday ticket, you can literally see every game. I don't even know if they have anything like that anymore. I have to look into it. Maybe DirecTV still has that, but I don't have DirecTV. But yeah, the Cowboys, but like I said, we're a team that, we play down to our opponent's level a lot of times. I know we beat the Colts by a lot of points and whatever, but it was also a lot of that happened in like the third quarter. A lot of the points came the third and fourth quarter.
Okay.
But I think what I'm saying about that point is, when we play the Eagles, there's so much rivalry there. There's so much bitterness. There's so much anger towards the two franchises. And this year we're both good. I wouldn't be too confident, because I would not be shocked if the Cowboys win.
Well, I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys win, to be honest. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be a bit surprised, because I think right now, and I'll just be honest with you, I think right now, look, there's a lot of talent on both squads, but I think it's who's playing better at the moment. I look back at that first game, Sean, and I look back at that first half. It was domination. And then it was in the second half when the Cowboys, and it was that very game where the Cowboys were the first ones to expose that softness in the defensive line. And I was thinking it was Davis's first game out too, I think. But the Cowboys were able to expose that soft spot in the Eagles' defensive line, i.e. the running game. That was where it showed up. And the Cowboys were doing such a good job of it that they came all the way back in that game and almost beat us. But before they found that little crease in there, this was now what's changed is that little crease they found, that ability to run against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's not there anymore. Even for Zeke. Even for the Dick Alice offensive line. I mean, they stopped King Henry. They stopped him cold. So I think we're doing that crease they found last time is not going to be there. Now, the one thing that I must say is they didn't have Dak in that game. I don't know if that's good or bad, though, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't know about this character. I mean, this Joker's throwing interceptions at the 10-yard. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's bad. I don't know. So I just look at that and I think, that running game thing is fixed. Yeah, they have Dak back, but that's not Joe Montana.
My dad texted me on Sunday. No. All he said was Dak sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the man that I have to. I mean, look, I'm not going to say it because I feel like if I say it, it's too antagonistic as an Eagles fan. But you and I talked over the summer, and I wasn't sure about my guy, but this kid's really, really come a long, long way. And what I love about him is he's not satisfied at all. He says, I just got to keep getting better. This or that. And I just got to look at more film. I got to study more tape, and I should have made that throw. I should have done this. And he's so dedicated to his craft. He's so humble. Ryan Clark said it best he said, Jalen Hurt, man, what you see is what you get. He said, zero front on that boy. I said, that's right. Yeah. There's zero front. He's not fronting. He's not faking.
Miles Sanders, he had 17 carries for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. The game before, he only had 10 carries for 24 yards, but the game versus the Packers, he had 21 carries for 143 yards. You're watching the Eagles more closely than I am. Is he like getting all these yards per carry, or is he picking up like a huge chunk at like one time, and then that just, inflates the stats?
He's been doing a much better job this year. It used to be just a breakaway here or there, but he's doing a much better job at getting good runs, quality runs of like 5 and 6 yards, like a lot of them. Now, last week against the Giants, he broke one, but hell, you're not gonna trounce a guy for breaking one. I can remember one Monday night in the early 80s, and Tony Dorsett against the Vikings was on the 1 yard line, his own 1 yard line. And this proves to you I don't hate the Cowboys. And Danny White hands him the football, and he breaks off tackle, and he goes 99 yards for a touchdown. Long runs happen, and long runs can throw statistics off. But Miles Sanders, he's learning. He's being more patient. He's waiting for blocks to develop, and he's doing one hell of a job. He's a much better football player than he's been. And I think that there's one game in there, Sean, when he didn't. So to answer your question, he's getting most of it with good quality, like runs where most guys would get 3.5 yards. He's getting 5.5, and 6, that kind of thing. He's doing a real good job.
Yeah, it looked like he broke 100 yards only a couple times. So that was the third time. He broke 100 yards. He had 134 versus Jacksonville. So Jacksonville, Green Bay, and the Giants. Now I have to look into the run defenses to see, are these guys' defenses for real? But, he did have over 100 yards only 3 times so far. But when he did, it was convincing. Yeah.
Plus, he's sharing a football. He's sharing a football with some other guys back there because they like to do that. They like to get a lot of different guys.
Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, but
Boston Scott. There's Jason Hurts or this and that. So they like to do that. Also, there's one game out of the last 3 when he didn't get many yards at all. You know why? Because they just were chucking it. Yeah. They decided this is how we're going to do it.
If you had to choose, if it, I'm not saying I want an Eagles receiver to go down, but who would you rather get hurt, A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith?
I'm not going to even answer that question. I'm not going near it.
A.J. Brown, going near it. Okay. A.J. Brown, 10 touchdowns. Devonta Smith is 5. I'm just saying.
Who would you rather get hurt? You know what I mean?
I was going to say,
what's that cat's name on defense, number 11? Well, would you like him to get hurt, or would you like Dak Prescott to be out for the year?
I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I'm just doing like a hypothetical where if you have to choose which receiver you're with, if say he got an illness for one game, he's not really hurt. He has like a random cold. Who would you rather have for that game versus the Cowboys?
Well, no, okay, listen. The answer is obvious, and the answer is obvious, but you're trying to get me to diss Devontae.
I'm not trying to get you to diss. I'm not trying to get you to diss.
Oh, I think you do, because he's a Heisman Trophy winner. And go ahead.
I genuinely want to know who.
Okay, AJ Brown is the number 1 to me, and we've got 2 number 1s, a 1 and a 1A. But if I would, AJ Brown is a beast. I mean, he'll go up and take it from you. He'll go past you. He'll run through you. He's just a beast. Devontae is, he's the Slim Reaper. I mean, he is smooth as silk. I don't want to lose either one of them, but if I had to choose, but please don't make me choose. Please don't make me choose, man. Don't do that.
The thing I'll say about the Cowboys is I'm not going to.
And I hope that number 11 doesn't get hurt either. I hope he doesn't it would be a shame if he really.
Parsons, that's our guy, man.
Parsons, yeah, and Michael Parsons.
If you could redo the draft, everyone's still saying that Trevor Lawrence would still be 1, but Michael Parsons is he's in concrete stone as number 2 for that draft class for sure. They look back, and we got that guy. We got Micah Parsons. I think we got him late in the first round. It wasn't like the first 10 picks. I know that. He was a steal.
That's why I said I hope that what would you rather him snap his Achilles tendon or Or
Yeah,
Dak.
maybe the phrasing was off, but it was one of those things. If you had to choose for one game, one receiver couldn't play, that type of thing. But
Oh, I know.
let's move
Sean,
on.
I know.
For one of my idols and heroes is Michael Jordan, and finally the NBA did something important. They named, not that they don't do important things, but they did something for him. They named the MVP trophy after Michael Jordan. It's a very nice trophy. They have all these. It's really detailed. It's like, he had 6 championships, so some of the dimensions are like 0.6 or something like that. The amount of MVP awards he's won. So, Air Jordan is the MVP trophy, but they also did, you won't really see this in the headlines. They renamed their awards. Hakeem Olajuwon trophy for Defensive Player of the Year, Wilt Chamberlain trophy for Rookie of the Year, John Havlicek award for Sixth Man of the Year, and George Mikan trophy for Most Improved Player. So I'm glad they've given some of these legendary players some credit and have some trophies named after them. Because there was talk about them changing the logo from Jerry West, and I'm like, no, you can't change the NBA logo, even if it's MJ, the MJ Jumpman logo. That's his clothing line, shoes and everything. I don't think you should change it from Jerry West. Having the MVP trophy after MJ is good enough for me.
No. To me, the greatest basketball player to ever, and listen, I've seen a lot of good ones. And all due respect to LeBron James, if you're going to ask me who's got bigger muscles or who's a bigger physical specimen, yeah, okay, he's a bigger physical specimen. It doesn't mean anything to me. What matters to me is what a man can do when you give him a basketball. And nobody, and this is someone who watched Dr. J. Now, Dr. J was an inspiration to Michael Jordan, right? And he said it in so many words. I mean, because coming up as a kid and you're watching the NBA then, I mean, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Julius Erving. I mean, the doc was just unbelievable. And Mike emulated his game after the doc, but he was even better than the doc. And it's the best basketball player I've ever seen. And, at the end of the day, he's undefeated in the finals. He won 6. He didn't lose a finals, never lost a finals match. He won 6 of them. He three-peated twice. He left the game for a year or two. Otherwise, he may have 8 championships, probably.
Played baseball.
Played baseball, right. And see, he did all that. He's got 6 rings, and he left the game for a while and all that stuff.
There's no doubt. The guy's a legend, and he should be named an MVP trophy. But the real question is, I guess the real question from me to you is cheat meal. Did you have any cheat meal on the NFL Sunday this week?
No, I had somewhere to go early Monday, and I don't like to eat heavy what I did was I just kind of ate very light. I think I had a ham and cheese sandwich, and I had it around 4:00 because I had to get to bed early. So and it's just one of those things where I don't like to eat heavy when I have a lot to do the next day. I have to get up early and things like that. So, Sundays might change a little bit. I might get my meals in on Friday and Saturday as opposed to Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. We'll figure something out. What else?
Yeah, my bad gambling beat. Not a horrible gambling beat because I like to say I had a really good one today. So today I won like $100 today betting on Argentina and Lionel Messi, probably the greatest soccer player of all time. I mean, Ronaldo's in the discussion, Pele's in the discussion, but if Messi wins a World Cup, he might be the GOAT. Because Ronaldo doesn't have a World Cup. He's probably never going to win one because he's too old now. He probably won't be in the next World Cup. You never know. He's a physical freak. But I took Messi today, scoring a goal, Argentina winning. I had over 1.5 goals. I had a nice parlay. I won that. So that's my good gambling beat. But the bad one, I guess, would say was on NFL because we just did a show on Saturday. I talked a little bit about it. But the bad one was Sunday. I thought I had an easy parlay. I picked like 7 NFL favorites. And what I do is I take the spread. So if they're favored by, negative 7 points, meaning they're favored by 7 points, I convert that negative to a positive. So I'll turn the -7 to like +3 or like +7 to assure, like, if they lose, I'm probably still, because they're probably not going to lose by more than a touchdown if they're that heavily favored. So they'll add 7 points to the score. So if they lose by 3 and I have +7, then I win the bet. So the parlay was all good except the Cowboys and the friggin' Chiefs, 2 of the best teams in football, screwed my parlay. They were both favored by a certain amount of points. And these are the only 2 teams I didn't turn the positives. I kept the negative points. I kept the spread the way it was with the Cowboys and the Chiefs pretty much. And they blew my parlay. So that was frustrating. So that's the bad gambling beat. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the show, and I'm happy everyone's listening. We're on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn. We're going to try to get on some other platforms possibly. Again, I'm on TikTok at Showing Review Stuff, 2 S's. And anybody who hasn't subscribed, if you're on Apple and Spotify, all you got to do is press the little plus arrow, I believe, and just add the show. because every time I release the show, you'll get an update when it's added. So that matters to us to see the subs going up and everything. So I'm glad everyone's listening. Joe, you want to wrap everything up? You got any final words?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have a great day, everybody.